It's Andre from High Performance Academy. We're here at World Time Attack with Nigel Petrie from Engineered to Slide. Now, for a lot of you, Nigel's not going to need any introduction, probably best known for his Hilux tube frame drift ute. But another project that Nigel's been working on for a long time is his S13, which has got a huge amount of custom work done to it. And Nigel, just wanted to take the opportunity to have a chat about what you've done to this S13. And first of all, a bit of a change of pace for you. The S13 is all about grip racing versus drifting, is that right?
That's right. So I currently own my Hilux, which is all finished off, my Red 180SX, which is a drift car. Now both of those share like a really similar engine package, so what I wanted to do was just sort of step outside what I normally do and just create something different and just have a go at I guess, cutting some lap times and not wearing out tyres. So yeah, this is something new for Engineered to Slide and myself, and yeah, it's an exciting little project.
The first thing that's really obvious when you look in the engine bay and really sticks out, no turbocharger. So in terms of getting reasonable lap times with a naturally aspirated engine, you feel that's putting you at a real disadvantage?
It is, it definitely is, but this car was sort of, you know, it was just sort of starting with things that are different, and I've got such a, I guess, a parts supply at home of SR20 stuff and a knowledge on SR20 stuff, and with the turbo side of things, like I've never really delved into, you know, the flow and the type of internals and everything on the motor, because to make more power, you're usually, you know, working on the fueling side of things and the boost side of things. So to make power out of a naturally aspirated motor is something that's new to me, and it's a challenge that I really want to take on, and I think by doing that and learning and making power and getting better lap times out of an NASR20, it'll improve, you know, the things with the other cars being turbocharged. So
I think there's a lot of truth in what you've just said there, that personally in my own experience, tuning a naturally aspirated engine is incredibly difficult to select the parts and make it all work together. And in a lot of ways, at least up until you're getting to the really pointy end, building power with a turbocharged engine is relatively straightforward. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is the cylinder head. Now, in SR20 tuning circles, in the last few years, we've seen a huge number of people adopt the VE cylinder head. You've stuck with the standard SR20 DET cylinder head. Can you talk about the reason for that? Is that a disadvantage to you?
So basically I wanted to pretty much start from scratch. Use the parts that I had, not go too far on the budget, because with this car I wanted to get a lot of the fabrication done on the chassis that allowed me to change a lot of things. Now, the motor in it, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is, I guess, you know, not a big dollar unit. Changing to a VE head would have meant a lot of changes with everything else. So I just wanted to keep this simple, get it on track, dial in a few things with the chassis, and then concentrate on increasing RPM, increasing horsepower, and then changing a lot of other things down the track. So yeah, I wanted to keep with, I guess, the classic era of the car being like a two-tone 90s thing. So the high port SR20 with the upswept intake was really, you know, like a key factor in the styling as well.
Let's talk about that intake, seeing as you've just touched on that. Obviously, it's right in your face when you're looking in the engine bay.
Yeah.
With individual throttle bodies, we can affect the tuning to a degree of the shape of the torque curve, where the engine makes peak torque, peak power, with the length of the trumpet. So have you done any calculations on this at the moment, or is it going to be a case of getting on the dyno, seeing how it performs, and then trying some different trumpet lengths?
So with this engine, I had the idea in my head for a long time. When I was in Japan in, I think, 2012, I went to the Tomei factory, and they were kind enough to sift through some old N2 SR20 information that they had. So I basically got runner length, merge collector size, tubing lengths and stuff like that for the exhaust. And they also touched on inlet diameters and I guess trumpet length, and also the degree of, I guess, the flare on the end of them. So I had like a really rough basis of what to work on. Now, things from like N2 racing in Japan in the 90s to now have changed a lot. Like the extreme cam profiles and that they run in Japan, when you measure them in Australia and you talk about them, they're not that extreme. So with this motor, it was more about using a lot of bolt-ons, keeping within like those short regulations, and then using an inlet length that would hopefully give me like just a good baseline to start with. So there's a lot of options by increasing and decreasing length. At the moment, it's basically the length is dictated by how it sits in the chassis. So anything from that point down, I can tune. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what effect that has.
No, just because you've just mentioned cam profile, and that sort of brings about another problem with the SR20 cylinder head, in that they're known for the rocker arm problems.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Anything you've done there to help improve reliability with the rocker arms?
Yep, so this cylinder head obviously is the S13 version. It's been ported with some quite decent flow figures. That I didn't do myself, but it was just basically purchased. It's bolted down to the block with a 0.5mm Nismo head gasket, so just increasing the compression ratio a touch, and again, just keeping it quite simple and bolt on for now. With the cam profiles and what I'm using in this car, it's a Tomei 12.5mm lift Pro Cam, so it's their 270 variation, and it's the most extreme cam that they sell off the shelf. This fitted my budget and basically gave me a starting point. I was about to swap these out for some custom-made cams that are available from a certain NZ company. So I've been speaking with a lot of people, and they always come back to compression ratio, inlet diameter, exhaust. Now, these are a lot of things that I don't really have too much knowledge on at this point. So the whole idea is just to get a baseline with everything and just get it working, get it on the track, and just and go from that point.
And down the line, I understand you're looking to build a proper bottom end anyway, with a bunch more compression suitable for E85 fuel, and then you're likely to see compression and airflow.
Definitely.
Obviously as the key to naturally aspirated power.
So I've also got I've got access to an engine dyno that's set up for an SR20. So in the long run, I really plan to build a bottom end with, say, around 13.5 to 1 compression or 14 to 1 compression. Maybe a slight rise in capacity as well, just to help out the head, just because it's going to have a limit on revs. So the plan is to build a bottom end with this setup, make sure that the oiling and everything is working properly, build a bottom end, strap that on an engine dyno, and then work on inlet runner lengths, cam profiles, and also exhaust. So yeah, there's a whole lot of things to happen before that happens, but yeah.
Now, the other thing I've noticed there, the SR20, again, well known for problems with triggering, particularly with aftermarket ECUs, high RPM and modified valve train. How have you dealt with that?
Yeah, through HPA's advice, through building the Hilux, and the stuff that I followed with you guys online, is a lot of the problems with the SR20. I think it runs like an optical 360-degree cam trigger setup. Now that I wanted to get rid of on this car and do exactly what we both did on the Ute. So it runs a trigger wheel off the crank to measure crank speed with a GT 101 sensor, and the same thing on the cam with a single trigger on the cam for the sync. We had great success with the Ute, and you said that in tuning the Ute, it had really high resolution at high RPM and everything worked well. So I just followed that and did the exact same thing with this car. So I think that should be pretty well covered.
I think it's a pretty well proven package, so yeah, no reason why that's not going to work. Let's talk a little bit about the chassis. So again, you're best known for your drift builds. You're a well-known drifter in Australia and worldwide. So what differences are there in the fabrication in the chassis? What changes have you needed to make to the car to make it more suited to grip racing?
So I guess at the start of the year, this car was all pulled apart because I used the motor out of this to build the Ute. So this car sat without a motor and basically without a floor, because I'd done a lot of changes to this as a drift car, because that's what it was originally intended to be used for. So I cut out everything that I did previously and then reworked everything from scratch. So I really wanted to improve the weight balance, the distribution, and I followed a lot of the rules and the formulas that a lot of the guys here at World Time Attack are following, but not to really be within any rules. I had like strict guidelines that I always wanted to build a car to, and that's what I've done with this car. So the motor shifted back about 180, 200 mil. The firewall is all recessed. Run like a larger tunnel, because obviously you don't need air conditioning and all the things that are behind there from factory. Constructed a cold-drawn, seamless, mild steel cage that all sort of triangulates into the rear. And that's created quite a far back seating position, which again helps for weight distribution. So all the cross members in the front bolt in. There's 3 different positions for lower control arm mounting point to the chassis. These are all made out of chromoly, and it gives me a range of adjustment so that I have a bit of a baseline. I can get to the track, work ride heights, change my pivot points, and then really, just work on that from there. There's a few changes that I want to make to the rear end, and overall the fabrication that's done to the car is, I guess, universal in that what's bolted to the car can be changed, but what's actually welded into the car I'm happy with. So there's a few ways I went about that.
Let's just talk about that rear end, because I know you've got some reasonably unique and unusual modifications planned. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the rear end that's in this car I've left standard for a reason, and that's because in the future I want to play around with, I guess, a lightened chromoly subframe that has a longer lower arm. I've been looking into and trying to research what's available out there in the upright world. So, I'd love to do some sort of billet upright in the rear and also in the front, and also some kind of quick change diff, because being a naturally aspirated 2-litre or small motor, there's going to be a range of RPM that's quite, I guess, power productive, and depending on what track I want to stick within that. So at the moment it's got a 4.6 final drive. Whether that's good or not, I'm yet to find out, but through this S13 6-speed gearbox, it'll give me a baseline, and then the changes in the rear will obviously help a lot with grip. But at the moment, the sway bars are as per normal, and a thing that I did with the Ute was the blade type adjustable sway bars, which I learned a lot doing. So I want to incorporate that, a different IRS in the rear end, and then just play around with a whole heap of different things, and just get out on the track and just try and get some numbers and some baselines, make some more power, get some more grip, incorporate some more aero while retaining the car's structure as a 90s, I guess, iconic car, and then go from there.
You're a regular already attending World Time Attack, either with a trade stand or drifting. Is it reasonable to see this car maybe competing next year in the likes of the open class maybe?
It's not unreasonable, but I wouldn't say that my budget's at the pointy end. But I pride myself on everything that I do, and I guess I'm always striving to do better. And I guess with a track car, getting out there, getting a baseline, and then working on that can only lead to, I guess, quicker times every year. So that would definitely be, something that I love to be a part of.
Now, in case our viewers have been hiding under a rock and have never heard of the ETS brand before, if they're interested in following the progress on the S13, the Hilux, and all your other projects, how can they get involved and follow you?
So everything that I do, there's a comprehensive rundown on Engineer to Slide. You can follow that. You can follow Instagram. There's a whole heap of different information on a whole heap of things that I do in regards to fabrication and car construction. So if they want to follow me along, then Engineer to Slide on Instagram, Facebook, website, go for it.
Awesome, Nigel. Thanks for giving us a rundown on the car. We'll definitely look forward to seeing it in action in the near future. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.